Hello everybody, this is Alan Beckley. I'm the inventor of the Wonder Wallet, coming to you from my beautiful studios in Plano, Texas. And as usual, I have my website posted on my t-shirt, alanbeckley.com. Why do I do that? Well, it's a simple way in Facebook Live, at least for you to be able to see where I have lots of information for you, including over 3 years worth of blogs on all sorts of inventing topics and other resources, including information on my upcoming webinars and lots of pictures of some of the places I've traveled for anybody who loves to go to places like Australia, etc. I'm dressed down a little bit to be comfortable today. You might notice I'm wearing my Melbourne t-shirt. Love Melbourne, Australia, one of my favorite cities in the world. Anyways, enough rambling. So what is my topic today for inventors and creatives? My topic for today is a little bit of a serious one. I'm going to go into the weeds a little bit with this, and I hope you guys will stick with me because the subject matter is actually one not only near and dear to my heart, but also should be of interest to all inventors and is actually something that's actually very important. So I mentioned I'm in a t-shirt right now, but Monday morning bright and early, I will be wearing a suit and tie. Why would I do that? Monday, I am boarding a plane at 6 a.m. to fly to Washington, D.C., and I'm going to Washington, D.C. to fight for inventors. And I mean this really. So why do inventors need somebody or somebodies to fight for them? Well, in this case, and it's certainly not just me, there's usinventor.org, who has been working on this for years, advocating for better laws that are more supportive of independent inventors. I'll get to that in just a bit more detail in a few minutes. Another organization is run by Stephen Key, a super successful inventor, that is Inventors Groups of America. And he will be in Washington, D.C. as well as perhaps quite a few other inventors, I would say over 100, for a meeting at the Patent and Trademark Office on Tuesday. But on Monday, I'm going to fly in early, and I have scheduled to meet with 3 different congressional staffers in the U.S. House of Representatives. It's going to be a lot of fun. I get in at 10 o'clock. My first meeting's 11:30. I have another one at 1. I have one at 2, and I have one at 2:30 to talk about the fact that legislation has not been good for the most part in the last 12 years. What we've seen happen is what had previously been a rather robust and strong patent protection for not only large but also small independent inventors like myself has been eroded very significantly to the point where I think the United States is now listed 10th in the world because patent protections have been seriously degraded. All right, so I told you I was going to get into the weeds. So what do I mean about all that? Why are they degraded? Why aren't they great? I won't get into making America great again. But anyways, so the short answer to those questions is in 2013, Congress passed a new law to, quote, improve the patent system that was called America Invents Act, AIA. The America Invents Act, as far as inventors are concerned, should more appropriately be called as America No Longer Invents Act because the provisions of it were extremely unfriendly to inventors. One in particular, again, I warned you I was going to get into the weeds, but stick with me. One provision of the AIA that is particularly egregious and destructive to inventors is created a 3-judge administrative panel within the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, which I'll refer to as USPTO. But this 3-judge administrative panel called the PTAB, the Patent and Trademarks Appeals Board, is actually impaneled to look at patents that have already been issued when there is a patent infringement circumstance going on. So this PTAB is not an inventor-friendly group because of the PTAB trials that have been held since it was put into effect. Over 90% of the time, 90% of the time, the inventor has either all or most of his or her claims invalidated. Therefore, the patent is ruled useless. And these are for issued patents that were approved by the same PTO, Patent and Trademark Office, only a few years earlier. So who wins? The infringer wins, because the infringer knows that if they try to knock off a patent of an inventor by making a copy themselves and selling in the marketplace, and then if the inventor files a patent infringement lawsuit, well, quite possibly the infringer is not going to fare well in the U.S. district courts. However, they can appeal to the PTAB, the Patent, Trademark, and Appeals Board, and this administrative judge panel. I stress administrative, that means they're not real judges in the convention sense. They're actually appointed by the director of the patent office, and he or she picks, I'll say, hacks, people that they like, and the law allows them to do this. And guess what? If you lose to the PTAB, guess what your appeal options are? Basically, you see this? 0. Because your only appeal is to go in front of, wait for it, the PTAB again. The same 3-judge panel that just told you all your patent claims have been denied. So this is no kind of judicial process. Nowhere else, if you go in front of a judge and jury and they find against you and then you go to file appeal, will you go in front of the same judge and or jury again. But with the PTAB, which is really a kangaroo court, that is precisely what happens. So since I'm in the weeds with all these details, let me give you a simple analogy that kind of has some accuracy to it, a metaphor. So how many of you out there are Harry Potter fans? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. So Harry Potter, as you know, Hogwarts is where everything happens in the Harry Potter books. That's where they get all their classes and everything goes on, right? That's where all the wizardry goes on. And that's generally friendly ground, right? And everybody knows that the enemy, the evil enemy, the one who can't even speak about most times, is the evil Voldemort, right? So Voldemort is one we hate that is always doing misdeeds. All right, so here's my analogy. You had to wait a long time for it. So think about, what if Hogwarts School of Wizardry had a separate office in the corner of it where Voldemort resided, and Voldemort did all sorts of evil things from his office inside of Hogwarts. All right, I made this long-winded analogy because essentially that's what the PTAB is. It's a division within the Patent and Trademark Office, the very one that issues patents and trademarks for inventors. But the PTAB, 90% of the time, invalidates some or all of the claims. So who wins? Very clearly, the infringers win, because they see that they're losing in the district courts, so they just appeal to the PTAB. And then the odds are the PTAB is going to find in the favor of the infringers and eliminate some, in many cases, all of the claims, or invalidate the entire patent. Lest it sounds like I'm being too dogmatic here, let me give you a simple example. There's an inventor I know who had a company called Zond, Z-O-N-D. He had a very high-tech, valuable patent, several patents. To be honest, he had 10 different patents issued on this technology issue, and he had quite a few employees and was building up a lot of intellectual capital, creating jobs, doing all those great things we're supposed to do. Well, a large corporation came after his product and began to knock it off. In fact, multiple large corporations did so, and he filed patent infringement lawsuits. Well, this went to the PTAB, shockingly, and when it went to the PTAB, wait for it, had 10 patents and about 300 claims. So these 10 patents were at least by more than 10 different patent examiners that had all been passed and approved. So the PTAB invalidated all 10 and over 300 claims of this man's patents, effectively wiping his entire business out and handing the infringers carte blanche to do whatever they wanted. Just imagine the financial ruin this man experienced, loss of jobs, loss of innovation. This is a perfect example, shockingly, of what's going on writ large because of the PTAB. So the PTAB is just one of the terrible provisions, but the worst one probably, that was created as part of the America Invents Act. Another one, well, that's enough of that, right? So in going to Washington, what I'm going to do on Monday is I'm going to meet with 4 different congressional staffers, and I'm going to bring up to them that we, usinventors.org, as well as Inventors Organization of America, is, Inventor Groups of America, is proposing a new bill. And this new bill would be called U.S. Inventor Act, USIA. And what essentially U.S. Inventor Act would do, it would have 14 different provisions that would roll back most of the damage that's been done in the last 12 years. Hopefully restore the U.S. patent system to once again being one of the most robust, powerful, and beneficial patent systems in the world. Now, we know proposing a bill and putting it in front of Congress is not easy work. And in fact, we've had two different gentlemen who've been trolling the halls of Congress, and I too have done a bit of that. But for the better part of 2 years, trying to share information with congressmen and senators and really apprise them of the real issues that are going on. So anyway, so that's my main point to talk about today. Going to Washington to fight for inventors, to hopefully restore a strong, robust patent system. And so this is serious business, and I've gone into the weeds with you here just a little bit about it, but I hope that you bared with me. I don't know if that's even the right way to say it, but anyways, stuck with me on this. And wish me luck when I go to Washington, D.C. We may shoot a Facebook video live there as well. But in the meantime, you can go to usinventor.org and find a lot more details about this. And hopefully you will follow this closely and support a stronger and more robust patent system, and realize that our current system has been so degraded that it's sadly often not a very good deal for inventors, but a fabulous deal for patent infringers. So hopefully we're going to be able to turn that around. Thanks for sticking with me, and tune in next week. And at this point I'll say, Sai Chen.